Let's bring in Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell of California. He's a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, and here with us at the table, David Corn. He's the Washington bureau chief from Mother Jones and an MSNBC political analyst. Congressman, I want to start with Eugene's implicit question there. What do you think Donald Trump was giving up or exchanging in these negotiations?
It's a me presidency that he's running, and as I look at, this trip and what he's getting out of it, I see how he benefits. I don't see how Americans at home are going to benefit. Right now, as we speak, Republicans are gutting health care and kicking millions of people off their health care so billionaires can get tax cuts. 401ks have become 201ks. The Port of Los Angeles has 35% fewer shipping containers coming in right now. And so on your grocery store and Home Depot and Walmart shelves, you're going to be able to buy less, but you'll have to pay more. So more than anything, he gets a lot this week, but we all get screwed.
I think that's such a poignant point. And when I'm thinking about the kind of deals that he's made and the folks he met with, the New York Times had some background that they put out today specifically about Ahmed al-Shara. And he is the former militant leader who now leads Syria. And it's worth noting that he once led a branch of al-Qaeda before he broke ties with the jihadist group and sought to moderate his image. The United States has designated his insurgents group as a terrorist organization. And until just 5 months ago, it offered a reward of up to $10 million for information leading to his arrest. Now, Congressman, you have Donald Trump praising this man, saying we have to give Syria a chance. Is it not, correct me if I'm wrong, but if Congress has to weigh in here, if Syria or this group is being taken off of, the sanctions are being lifted and being taken off of the terror, and this gentleman is being taken off the terrorist watch list. Donald Trump cannot unilaterally do that, yet he stood today as if he had the power to do so.
Absolutely. And he has no idea what he's doing. This is foreign affairs. It's not matching on Tinder. And he looks at someone and says, oh, they look tough. They seem like a fighter. So now they're our friend. I mean, that's absurd that that's how he would, conduct, relations on behalf of the United States, that he would just size someone up so quickly, forgetting, past atrocities. And also, just by the way, as he is over there, having all of this, opulence given to him, Two-Doll Donnie is telling American families that they have to cut back on what they consume. And so, again, the American people are not going to be fooled. They're not buying this one bit. And again, at the end of the day, they want to know, what is their president going to do for them? We know what he gets out of this. What do the rest of Americans get?
Two-Doll Donnie. David, I guess for me, the biggest question that I have for you is that, and I remember, a few months ago where presidents really didn't want even the appearance of impropriety, right? When you talk, when you talk to even Donald Trump in the first 4 years, right? There were things that he didn't want to do, right?
Right.
He's clearly unleashed. Talk a little bit about what this looks like.
Well, I think if you go back to the first term, I think one of the lessons he got out of that was that he left a lot of money on the table. He could have made more. He's made $3 billion so far in the first 3 years of this presidency. And when you're asked the question, what is he getting out of what's happening here, it always comes back to follow the money. I mean, he's in a business deal in Qatar with Saudi developers. The Saudis gave $2 billion to the fund of his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. He's getting a $400 million plane that, if it goes the way it's supposed to go, will end up with his Presidential Library Foundation, which he will have control over. They could even sell it and take the money at that point in time. I mean, it's interesting that a lot of this money is coming from the Saudis and Qatar. It's not just him. Pam Bondi was a lobbyist for Qatar, and she said, this deal is fine. I've written a memo, but we haven't seen the memo. Susan Wiles, his chief of staff, she ran a lobbying firm that had Qatar as a client. Steve Witkoff had Qatar buy a $673 million building from him a few years ago. Kash Patel got paid as a consultant for Qatar last year, and the FBI and Kash Patel won't tell us how much money he got or what that money was for. So we have all this money flowing in from Qatar. It's coming into Trump and everybody else, and then they're acting like he's a great statesman. And this is really about foreign policy when it's just about the ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching.
And Congressman, it's not just about al-Shura. It's not just about the Saudi crown prince. It's about the fact that you have Donald Trump, the president of the United States, saying that his reference check for al-Shura was Erdogan out of Turkey, saying, I spoke with President Erdogan. He is very friendly with him. He feels he's got a shot of doing good. I mean, you're talking about a leader who has...
Alicia, that's like Jeffrey Epstein saying Harvey Weinstein is a great guy. Like that doesn't cut it.
Especially when the person you are referencing, to your point, has dismantled the rule of law in his home country, has effectively made the parliament in his own country useless, no system of checks and balances, has jeopardized a free press. It sounds a whole lot like the country we live in and the effort that is underway by this president to undermine democratic norms.
Yes, and Erdogan has become essentially an autocratic leader because the four legs that hold up a democracy are gone in that country. That's a check by the legislature. That's a free press, an independent judiciary, and a town square full of people. We've lost the first in America, but we have three legs that have held so far: the courts, the press, and the people showing up. We can't lose another one, so it has to be a cautionary tale. Turkey, they can't be a reference that we're relying upon.
You know, David, it feels to me that I am not seeing a strong American president on this Middle Eastern trip. I go back and I think about when you are crafting a trip for a president or a vice president, particularly their first, trip that they choose to take, right? President Trump did attend the funeral of Pope Francis, but that was a funeral. It wasn't an official state visit, if you will. It was a funeral that many world leaders attended. Yeah. But when you're crafting a trip for an American president or vice president, the first trip you take, every single thing is mapped out. It's supposed to send a signal. It's supposed to signal strength, relationships. Like there's deal making. Yes. There's a lot behind it, and it is kind of like your first shot across the bow to the rest of the world, but also folks at home, about how you are going to purport yourself on a world stage.
But I think you're making a mistake.
Tell me.
I hate to correct you, but this is not a trip of an American president.
Okay, David, I was thinking.
This is the trip of Donald Trump for Donald Trump. And you go back to what we just talked about a moment ago, the reference from Erdogan. The reference also came from MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. He said, you got to meet this guy, you got to make nice with this guy. Trump is doing what he's doing because he wants to do business with these people. And so he's taking their cues. They say he's okay. I mean, it's kind of disgusting. I mean, we referenced this earlier, that he's meeting with Mohammed bin Salman, who U.S. intelligence said when Trump was president, he was involved in killing, or gave the orders to kill Jamal Khashoggi, the Washington Post reporter and an American resident. And it's also, let's not forget, it's not a democracy. It's an autocratic, authoritarian state in Saudi Arabia as well, where dissidents and critics are put in jail without decent trials, and women are still repressed. So he's not dealing with any of that because he's making deals. There's a tower going up in Saudi Arabia. There's a tower, there are projects supposed to go up in Qatar. That's what he cares about. If Al Capone was around right now, he would say, forget crime, I'm going into politics.
This just doesn't seem, I think you're right. This feels like then, I think more people should be concerned. I do think the American people should be concerned about this because the president is not comporting himself as a president. He's comporting himself like he's still the head honcho, CEO of Trump organization.
This is a trip for Trump Inc., not for the United States of America.
Congressman, in that vein, then, how do you make the American people care about this, right? If we believe that they should be concerned, how do you, members of Congress, how do folks that are covering the story, how do they make it clear to the American people when eggs are so expensive, when gas is expensive, when they're dealing with, maybe only getting 2 toys this year instead of 30, because all these people are getting 30 toys every year? How do you actually make people understand that this should matter to them?
Yeah. Public sentiment is still working. Look, Trump is an aspiring dictator. He's not a dictator yet. If this dictatorship was complete Elon Musk would still be overseeing Doge. But people talked and walked with their wallets when it came to Tesla, and Musk is out. Trump caved on the tariffs. And here's a prediction I'm going to make. He is going to cave on this plane because the public sentiment is so outraged at it that he's not going to do it. So as long as the public remains engaged and outraged and they show up, he will continue to cave.
But Congressman, how do you make them care? Because I think that, you and the other members of Congress who care about the Emoluments Clause and understand what it means, how do you get out there? What do you tell them? What is your argument to the American people?
Yeah. So we have to fight on the inside in Congress. And frankly, times like this reveal in Congress and in leadership who should lead and who should leave. And so Jamie Raskin, by the way, he has right now a resolution that he's putting before the floor for a vote that would bring this gift to the Congress for a vote. So we have to show as much fight on the inside. On the outside, I'm going to Republican districts every month and holding town halls. I was in Kevin Kiley's district just 2 weeks ago in Folsom, California. We had about 1,000 people show up there. My colleagues like Jasmine Crockett and Maxwell Frost and others, they're doing the same. So if we show fight on the inside, the public will show fight on the outside. And that fourth leg that I mentioned to you, the public outrage in going to the town square, that can be enough to get us to the midterms, to get a true check on the president with a Congress that will stand up to him.